Hi, James Hardiman here, and we're going to spend a little bit of time this morning having a look at the Keto calculator. This is particularly for people who are interested in ketogenic diet. There are two Facebook groups, Ketogenic Dieters and the Ketogenic Diet Group, and also people on Mark Maunder's Basic Ketogenic Diet blog post comments. One of the questions that gets asked a lot on the internet is what ratios should I have of carbohydrates, fats, and proteins? And the answer that most people give is it depends, which is pretty frustrating if you're new. It does depend on a lot of things, and what we're going to look at this morning is this calculator. So the first thing you need to do is to go to a web browser. I'm using Chrome here, but as far as I know it'll work on anything, and go to keto-calculator.ankerl.com. Ankerl is the name of the person who wrote this. So let's have a quick look at how this works. It needs some information about yourself. We said it depends, doesn't it? So I'm going to do this for a female. It says kilograms of body weight or pounds. And it will calculate either, so you can put in either. So let's say you are 190 pounds. It's automatically calculated as 86.2 kilos of body weight. If you're English and you only work in stones, well, let's work out what 190 pounds would be in stones. Let's just go to the calculator. 190 divided by 14 pounds in a stone, we've got 13.5-ish stones. But you'll probably know your weight. So let's say you're 13 stone 8. You would go 13 times 14 plus 8 would give you 190. How about that? So that's 13 stone 8. How tall? Well, let's say that this person is 5 foot 7 inches. And it's calculated already how many centimeters that would be, and let's say that this person is 45 years old. It's already worked out that our base metabolic rate, 1451 kilocalories, what this means is it takes 1,541 calories just to keep you alive in your current state. So even if you were in a coma, lying in bed, it would take this number of calories just to keep you alive, not losing weight. Now, nobody's in that state. We all do move around, so we all do use some extra calories in just moving around, and it needs to know how much we move around. So let's look at this little thing here. Little to no exercise, light exercise 1 to 3 days a week, moderate exercise 3 to 5 days a week, heavy exercise 6 to 7, very heavy exercise twice a day, extra heavy workouts. Now I suspect that none of us is doing that, so let's just go for this light exercise 1 to 3 days a week. So this has taken us up from 1541 to 2119 calories just to keep us alive, our current size, moving around. The next thing it says, let's find out our body fat percentage. And it says the most accurate way would be a DEXA. Well, DEXA involves doing x-rays and all sorts of complicated things. There are lots of scales, bathroom scales, which if you stand them on them in bare feet will tell you what your body fat is. And it says here the easiest way is to just estimate it from some comparison pictures. So if we click this link, what we get is pictures that look like this. So let's go along here. Here we've got a totally and utterly ripped man, bodybuilder, 3 to 4% body fat. Well, I suspect this is not the sort of person we're looking at. If you're interested in ketogenic diets, you're probably 25-30%, maybe even 40% body fat. Women tend to have a bit more body fat due to these things mainly, and the fact that women are kind of curvier. So a normal body fat percentage for a man would be 10 to 14%. At 20%, you're a bit on the pudgy side. 25%, you're definitely pudgy. 30%, you're heading well towards obesity. If you're definitely obese, you're probably up to 45%. There are probably not too many women who want to look like this. I suspect that most women would be happy to look around about 18 to 20% body fat. 25%, you're getting cuddly. 30%, it's starting to show. It also makes the point that you can have 10, as a man, you can have 10% body fat and be totally ripped with muscle, or just very skinny. And similarly with women. So there's a nice cartoon chart here which we can look at, and I'm going to say that the woman, our imaginary woman that we're doing this calculation for, looks at this chart and says, you know what, I think I'm probably about 40% body fat. So we'll go back to our keto calculator and we'll say I'm 40% body fat. It says with 40% body fat you have 52 kilos or 114 pounds of lean body mass and 76 pounds of body fat. That includes about 14 pounds of essential body fat that you cannot lose. If you lose every last bit of your body fat, you'll be dead basically. So so we've got 76 pounds of body fat, including 14 pounds of essential body fat. So we've got around about, or this person's got around about 60 pounds of fat to lose. Just one little thing here. People often say, can I exercise to get rid of it? Fat is an incredibly efficient storage medium for energy. Every pound of fat contains 3,500 calories of energy. So this person's got about 60 pounds of excess fat. If we do 60 times 3,500, they've got around about 210,000 calories to lose. And there are various places on the internet where you can find out how many calories you burn if you walk a certain distance or run a certain distance. And if you do those calculations, you'll find that if this person is trying to get rid of this weight simply by exercising, you're going to have to do an awful lot over a long time. Right, let's move on. Carbohydrate comes in two forms, net carbs and fiber. So if you're eating something like a cabbage leaf, there's not very many net carbs, there's quite a lot of fiber. It says net carbs are converted to glucose and they raise your blood sugar, which we don't want on a ketogenic diet. And if you're a diabetic, even if you're not on a ketogenic diet, you don't want that. It says here, below 50 grams of net carbs each day is sufficient for most people. Some should stay below 25. And certainly my own personal experience is that if I don't stay below 25, I come out of ketosis. The other part of carbs is fiber. Insoluble fiber just passes through your body without raising blood sugar. Soluble fiber is used by bacteria to produce fatty acids, which provides a few calories but does not raise blood sugar either. And we need this fiber to keep things moving. It says make sure to get your carbs from vegetables, nuts and seeds and fruits. Keep in mind that in Europe generally food labels show net carbs while America show total carbs. Calculate net carbs by subtracting fiber from total carbs. Okay, it says here the amount of carbs that's sufficient for most people. Well, research has shown, and actually common sense, if you think it through, shows that you don't actually need carbs. If you're on a ketogenic diet, you're trying to persuade your body not to use carbs to run the system, but to use ketones to run the system. And if you keep giving it carbs, it will say, oh, well, I don't need to go into ketosis. I don't need to generate ketones to run the system. I'll run on carbs. However, all of this is about macronutrients, protein, carbs, and fats. It doesn't pay any attention to micronutrients, which are vital. And although you'll get some micronutrients, from things like eggs and good quality meat, you also get an awful lot of micronutrients, vitamins and things from vegetables, nuts and seeds and fruits. So you're going to need to eat some of those and they will give you some carbs. Now it's suggested here that you take 25 grams daily amount of net carbs, and you'll need to rerun this calculator several times as you experiment with this diet and use keto sticks, and if this number is too high for you, then you'll come out of ketosis and you'll need to knock it down, but I'm going to leave it at 25. The next bit is the most important thing of all. It's getting the amount of protein right. If you have too much protein, your liver will convert the protein to carbs and you'll wind up with carbs even if you're not eating them in the form of carbs. If you have too little protein, then you haven't got enough protein to maintain your muscles. It says here it's important to get enough protein to maintain your muscles, but not too much or it'll kick you out of ketosis. So if you haven't got enough protein, your body will start digesting your muscles rather than your fat. So this is the key thing. So what it's asking here is to choose how much protein we're going to take. It says here, based on your activity level, it might be a good idea to say around 90 grams of protein, and it gives you a couple of references that you can look up. It says if you get no exercise at all, the minimum amount of protein you should have each day is 73 grams. If you're extremely active, you should have about double that, and it's suggesting 90. So let's go with its suggestion of 90 grams of protein. Okay, so with 25 grams of carbs and 90 grams of protein that we say we're going to eat, that means that we're already eating 460 calories a day. Of your daily requirements covered with these nutrients. So everything that's left is fat. Now, if our goal is to stay exactly the same size as we are, then we need to eat 2119 calories a day and we will remain exactly as we are. And down here it says fat intake depends on your goal. If you want to lose weight, you have to eat below your maintenance calories of 2119. Think of fat as your healthy filler nutrient. If you want to maintain your current weight, you can fill all of the 1659 remaining calories with fat. That means you can eat up to 184 grams of fat if you want to keep your current weight. If you want to lose weight, you have to eat less than 184 grams of fat. It says you shouldn't go below 30 grams of fat, but it's going to give you a choice of how much fat to eat or what you want your total calories to be. So you could say, well, I don't really understand grams of fat, but I understand calories, and I think I want to eat 1500 calories a day. And if you type in 1500 calories a day, it says, well, that's equivalent to 116 grams of fat. And down here it says if you stick to 25 grams of carbs, 90 grams of protein and 160 grams of fat, you will eat 1500 calories and you'll lose 5.2 pounds in a month. You might think to yourself, oh, I'd like to lose weight a little faster than that. And you could just experiment and say, well, what happens if I say 1400 calories? Well, look, now you're up to 6 pounds a month. What happens if I say I want to eat 1200 calories? Now you're up to a bit over 7.5 pounds a month. What happens if you go very low? Let's say I'm going to try 600 calories and it says too low, you're going to start losing muscles. Okay, well, let's come up a bit. 900. I could get away with 900, or rather this woman could get away with 900. It says if you stick to 25 grams of carbs, 90 grams of protein and 49 grams of fat, you will eat 900 calories and lose 10 pounds in a month. Well, that's not bad. This person had about 60 pounds of fat to lose. 6 months, they're done. It says keep in mind that your body weight can fluctuate by plus or minus 4 pounds on any given day from water weight and what's in your stomach. It says recalculate your macro ratio once a month. And the reason you need to do that, because if you remember, we started off by putting in our weight, and we'll be losing weight. So after a month on this diet, where are we? I've lost it now. We will have lost 10 pounds. So in a month's time, this figure will be 180 pounds. And if we come down here, now if we eat 900 calories a day, our weight loss has dropped down to 9.7 pounds. And we might want to, say, try 850 calories a day. That takes us back up to 10 pounds in a month. And you can see that each month you need to adjust this. When you're at your almost at your target weight, when we're down to 140 pounds, no, let's say 130 pounds, and we've only got 10 pounds to go. And of course, by this time, our body fat won't be like that. It will probably be more like, well, let's say we've got down to 30% body fat. So we come in here and say, I've got 30% body fat. And you see, as you type in these numbers, everything gets recalculated. Now we've got 39 pounds of body fat, 11 pounds is essential, which leaves 28 pounds to go of body fat, and at 850 calories we've got to come up a bit, and the weight loss will get slower and slower. So that's what you're going to play around at. Let's put this back like it was, which was 190 pounds with 40% body fat, and at 850 I think that's probably too low, but if we left it at 900, it's happy. We can lose 10 pounds in a month. So we're going to eat 900 calories a day, which is 25 grams of carbohydrate, 90 grams of protein, 49 grams of fat. Down here it says if you use MFP. MFP is MyFitnessPal, and we'll look in another video about how you can use MyFitnessPal. And down here it says if you click here, you can get a fancy little chart to show how your weight is going to come down, and you see it flattening out down here because the weight loss will slow down as it goes along. So that's it. Keto calculator .ankerl.com. I'm going to post this video on the two ketogenic diets groups on Facebook, and also on Mark Maunder's thing. I'm going to put it in a blog post of my own with links that you can click to understand what's going on.